Party people in the place to be, live from 58 Dream Street. Greg and James, beat 'em up. That's right. It's your favorite Twitch show, the one where this guy, James, and this guy,
Greg,
play beat 'em up video games. And boy, we did a lot of that over the past year or so.
We did.
We did. We have completed phase 1 of our project. Phase 1 loosely defined, well, strictly defined. It's just a loose definition.
Yeah.
But the language of the definition is strict, which is that we played all of the notable or notable adjacent beat 'em ups through 1993.
Mm-hmm.
A somewhat arbitrary cutoff, but it does really capture a lot of the golden age. Many of the games that you would think of that would come to mind quickly are included here. And so we can see them here in the order that we played them on a spreadsheet that unfortunately, because of the software in question, cannot smooth scroll.
Oh dear.
As much as that would be a nice feature if this was just kind of rolling like credits. But that's okay. So check it out. 41 games depending on your standards for what counts as when an adaptation or a port from arcade to console creates an entirely new experience or
Yes.
is simply a consolified version of the same experience. And I don't know. There might be room to argue there, but...
I mean, there's some that are significantly different, and some that I think will have more of an argument.
And maybe we will argue about that on this very evening.
Let's see.
We are not merely going to look at a spreadsheet during this particular episode, but we are going to do a fair bit of that.
Yes. Well, I argued against it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Greg, I'm the one who is in control here. We'll do other things too. We'll play games,
Yes.
video games. But we also have a project. We have a task here. We're not ranking them yet.
Mm-hmm.
We'll rank them when we've played all the beat 'em ups
Yes.
through 1993. So that involves completing phase 2 of the project, which is all of the other beat 'em ups
Released prior to 1993.
released prior to 1993, of which there are quite a few. We have played 41 games so far. We have 98 to go. And of course, perhaps we'll discover that we're missing some. And we might also discover that some of the games that either Moby Games or My Memory, which are the two main sources I use to make these lists, might not even count. I certainly saw some games classified as beat 'em up / brawler on Moby Games.
Yeah.
That I felt with certainty did not count as beat 'em ups and would not be played here.
I mean, beat 'em up is a vague genre. There are some games we played that I think are universally regarded as beat 'em ups that are just not beat 'em ups. Or are not enough beat 'em ups to really count as being specifically.
That's true. And I believe, Greg, that you were talking about the Battletoads series.
I am indeed.
Except for the spin-off crossover Battletoads vs. Double Dragon.
Yes.
Which is absolutely a beat 'em up. Throws in some varied gameplay in a few stages, but it's primarily a beat 'em up.
And I mean, we can talk about that distinction when we get to Battletoads.
That's
in
true.
This discussion.
We'll see how we do. We're not ranking them, but we are going to sort them into
Yes.
3 tiers. So to start with, we have no sorting done whatsoever.
We're fighting.
Cedric, welcome. Happy New Year. So we will have the games that are just okay. They'll be classified as mid-tier.
Mm-hmm.
It's the in-between tier.
Yeah.
Games that are, when we get around to ranking, will absolutely be vying for the top spots. Go to the boss tier.
Mm-hmm.
You see how this works. And then finally, there's a tier for the games that are Battletoads.
Yeah.
Or Battletoads and... we'll see about Battletoads. But
level.
Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, absolutely going to be on the Goon tier. The lowest tier. Perhaps I'll have some time in the coming weeks, we'll see, to spruce this up graphically a little.
Yeah.
Because what we'll do when we start phase 2 is after we play each new game, we'll add it to the tier.
Yeah.
So hopefully at that time, I can have a fun little graphic that,
something we can end
communicates
each episode with
each
a bang.
of the tiers. Yeah. We'll rank them all at the end of the episode. It'll be an official segment. Give some extra structure to our show. So, who knows? Can we get through all 41 games and put them on a list today?
I don't think so.
But we're gonna find out.
It's a lot of games.
We're gonna give it a shot. And I think we came to the consensus that the way to start this this particular project portion of our project off best was by going right back to the start.
Mm-hmm.
To Nekketsu, Koha, Kunio-kun. The hot-blooded Nekketsu tough guy.
Yep.
Or the hot-blooded tough guy, Kunio. Nekketsu means hot-blooded, so it's redundant. Yep. We're not playing... We're playing the original, not Shodai Nekketsu Koha Kunio-kun, which translates as the original.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're actually just playing the original, without the original in the title.
Which was, of course, adapted to North America as Renegade, with a complete...
Complete presentational overhaul.
Yeah.
So...
For some reason, they did not believe that high schoolers fighting each other for dominance would sell in North America, and said that the Warriors would sell in North America.
Yes. Now...
Oh, but this is a single-player game, so I don't need my controller.
Yeah, now when we first played this, at the very start of this project,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't purchased our arcade sticks. So,
No, we were playing with controllers.
so we'll each get a chance here to re-experience the very first beat 'em up, the way a little bit closer to the way it was meant to be played.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
So let's discuss this a little bit. So there are some games that we did play on the show
Yes.
that are sort of proto beat 'em ups that provide some of the DNA of the beat 'em up, but haven't really reached the point where they can be called a beat 'em up yet.
Yeah. You've talked me into it, Greg. We'll actually start with Mania.
Yes, Mania is one of them, as is Kung Fu Master.
Kung Fu Master is also one of them, but I feel like Kung Fu Master has less relevance than Mania. Kung Fu Master is a great game.
I feel like Kung Fu Master, rather, the beat 'em up wouldn't come without it, because it really is like the sort of thing. But in the same way that, like, technically there wouldn't be beat 'em ups without Pong.
Well, let's find out. You know what? Let's do all three.
Sure,
We don't need to do a ton of any of them.
No.
But some of each. In fact, proactively, would you like to... Kung Fu Master I do not have on the Switch. So do you want to get your arcade stick ready and plugged in to the computer, and we'll fire that up on the main emulator next?
Yeah, sure.
Because this will be... I don't think there's a significant enough difference between English and Japanese modes.
There was indeed a Warriors game that came out in the 2000s. You're not mistaken about that.
I'm willing to bet it's inferior to Renegade. Which is an excellent game that I think in many ways we haven't played games that have surpassed it by that much.
I recall it being not great. I think I rented it. And it's just okay. They certainly go for the feel of Warriors, I think unsuccessfully.
Well, hey, at least they tried.
Yeah.
Okay. 2-button control.
Mm-hmm. So we also played this back when we were playing wrestling games.
Yeah, we played this when we were doing wrestling games, no longer preserved, because I didn't really think that we hit a level of production or content quality that demanded my time in getting it onto YouTube. We had fun, but this is the one that's stuck as a format, I think. And yeah, so we played this where we were playing wrestling games, then we played it at the start of our journey here. We're playing it again retroactively. This is a game by Technos, made before Renegade.
Mm-hmm.
But stop me if you've heard this before. 2-button control, a punch button and a kick button. And if you press both buttons together, you'll do you can do jump moves. Or, well, among other things. Because it's a wrestling game, the controls are more linked to like how you do moves.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the run combination
But we've got things like
the jump combination makes you run.
We've got things like a Z-axis, There was a lot
Yep.
more brawling in this
Z
wrestling
axis.
game than you would think.
Yeah, there's striking with punches and kicks that cause stun lock.
Yeah.
There's a symmetry between the abilities and like the statistics and the functionality of the player and the enemy, which I think is not necessarily like. I think there are beat 'em ups that don't do that, but I think that is one of the distinguishing features of a beat 'em up, is that the bad guys are largely playing by the same rules as you. They take damage.
Happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, they take damage like you do. They
Get stunned in the same way you do. They often have very similar movesets. They lose hit points in the same kind of way. I didn't even get past the Insane Warrior. Insane Warrior.
Oh,
It's only in the Japanese
that
version
he's the warrior.
that he's Insane Warrior.
Which is what are my buttons here?
Oh, so top right button to insert a coin, and then the top left button to press start, and then the bottom two left buttons to play the game.
This button to insert a coin?
No.
That button. Right. Okay. Hello, folks. Here we are with tonight's
Yeah.
special one.
So
You.
Nah.
Versus.
he was always worried about looking weak. Ho ho.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the Insane Warrior format. Now, this guy would not be named as a reference to the Ultimate Warrior, who would not be a going thing at this time. This is more of an early 80s game. We're not going to get to them, but the later characters start with the next character is Karate Champ or Karate Master, who is actually just a Proto Chintai-mei from the Double Dragon games. And then after that, you get into analogs to real life wrestlers in a very problematic way.
Yes.
With Coco Savage, who is
Coco Beware?
No, not Coco Beware. Kamala, the Ugandan giant. No, he's definitely very specifically Kamala. Yeah, this game has like awesome tactility. Like it feels right, the fighting, and there's a chaoticness to it when you're like.
Yep.
When you both go for the splash, like who's gonna win, and like they collide midair. It feels good and satisfying. It's not a beat 'em up because it's a wrestling game.
And because it doesn't have, I think, a main part of beat 'em ups, which is that it is just a one-on-one wrestling game. So we are not progressing through stages. We are in a very small ring, and we only ever taking on one person at a time.
Yeah, I think taking on multiple enemies, because the beat 'em up in a way is like. Its core thing is to simulate a martial arts movie fight.
Yeah.
Not the showdown at the end. In fact, I think we've often found a lot of beat 'em ups that struggle when they get to the boss fight because it's just like, well, okay, here's one, except it's just absurdly difficult to land a hit on him. Or
Yeah.
here, this guy takes 1,000 punches. But yeah, this is a really good wrestling game.
Yeah.
In addition to like providing the obvious foundation for the beat 'em up genre. With only 2 buttons, it covers... If you ever played pro wrestling on the NES, you may be realizing, if you weren't familiar with this game, that pro wrestling on NES is a very, very clear ripoff of this game. Up to and including like having the single cameraman down there.
Ooh.
Although
Bouncing off the ropes.
I believe the cameraman is animated. Woof.
That was rough.
In
Got a pile driver out there, though.
in pro wrestling for NES. But yeah, so fun game, not a beat 'em up, but you can absolutely see, like, it's no surprise that Technos was on the verge of inventing the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Also, I did look up the Warriors game. It came out in 2005 and was apparently critically acclaimed for its gameplay.
well, how about that?
So,
Good for them.
and it is listed as a beat 'em up. It's a 3D beat 'em up or brawler.
Okay. Well, now let's check out a game that, at least on Wikipedia, is identified as a proto beat 'em up.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of the identification. I can see where they got it from, because it is obviously aping martial arts movie, and it is also very clearly
Well, it's about progressing through
It's
levels.
it's got an A and B button for punching and kicking.
Yeah.
But all right, let's check it
it's
out.
about progressing forward through levels, fighting opponents.
Let's make sure, yeah, your buttons work.
Okay.
So, storyline: the Kung Fu Master Thomas and Sylvia. They're both suddenly attacked by several unknown guys.
Yeah.
You're seeing this play out in a pretty effective use of the game engine for cinematics. They capture Sylvia. Later, Thomas found a letter from X, an inhabitant of the Devil's Temple.
Now he's gonna
And what did the letter say? It said, "I've got Sylvia. You gotta come get me." All right, here you go, Greg. I don't know if the buttons are set up right at all.
Okay.
So just hit some buttons and find it.
Okay. Yeah, they're set up right.
Great. So, one of the key distinctions, as I was just saying, the beat 'em up has generally a symmetry between the capabilities and the nature of enemies. You gotta wiggle around to break the holds. And so in a beat 'em up, almost always, enemies don't damage you by colliding with you on the screen. They damage you by hitting you. The same way...
Oh, I had to duck that, I guess.
Yes, you've got to duck when somebody throws a knife at your face. At least that's what you have to do in a flat 2 dimensions with no Z-axis.
Yeah.
I don't think that, like... There are parts, say, of, like, Double Dragon where it'll temporarily force you into flat plane side-scrolling. And I wouldn't say that it ceases to become a beat-em-up then.
Oh.
You gotta jump for knee knives.
Well, my man,
It's
how was
hard.
I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know he'd throw low?
Well, that is a thing that this game has more in common with Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which is that a core combat mechanic is just about high-low. I suppose it will also have that in common with a lot of fighting games, which I think this is closer to being analogous to. You really don't want to get stabbed, and the punches are very short range.
I know.
You want to give it another try?
I always think I'm closer. Yeah, I always think I'm closer than I am.
That's the time when it's time. Oh, we do get to see the net. It's just you got to pay up to see the net. They weren't going to give that away for you in the catch.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see how this is a proto beat 'em up in a big way though, because again we're getting these multiple enemies. You're not really engaging with them at the same time because they can only come at you in lines.
Yeah.
But like they can gang up on you. You can have multiple on you at the same time.
That's true. But then also with most of them, up until the boss fights, you're engaging with them asymmetrically.
Yeah.
They either have projectiles or they just want to give you a big hug. They go down in a single hit.
Yep.
Some of the tougher enemies take multiple hits. For example, these guys take 2. This is an excellent game.
It is, yeah.
It gets the job done.
It does.
It never, like, it'll add some new enemy types, which are all just variations on your basic idea here of them forcing you to attack low or high and not let them hug you. Oh, you were close.
I suppose. Got some laughter? Okay, one more go at this until I'm dead. And then
Yeah, get your game over, and then we'll get back to
actual beat 'em ups. Yeah, these are not going on the list.
But but I think in terms of like trying to actually define what makes a beat 'em up, I think they're very instructive. For that was my big revelation in thinking a lot in December of how to define the beat 'em up was the symmetry. Now, like, we do have like the Ninja Turtles games where a lot of the enemies don't necessarily follow the exact same rule.
Oh, shit. Shit. Okay, we can. Oh, I thought it was on my end.
Interesting.
It is very satisfying just to do some high kicks to just. Come on. Come on! I was wiggling!
Oh man. Maybe you need to get some ducks and stand backups in there?
Maybe.
I've never really thought through what the
wiggling actually represents.
Yeah. Man, it's a good thing that Sylvia is standing.
Yeah, she's off.
She's a little bit off on the Z-axis there.
Oh,
She'd be dead.
He's just jumping over those.
Yeah.
So let's get to the first real beat 'em up. The first one that is, I would not say Proto, but a full representation of the...
Oh, absolutely. There was history. This didn't spring from nowhere, but...
This didn't spring from the head of the Technos Japan people fully.
There was never yet a video game genre that fell from the heavens. British was teaching me some German aphorisms. And after he told me... I can't remember the German words for them, but after he told me the very succinct trial makes smart.
Yeah.
Which I said, like, I like that because it's not practice makes perfect.
No.
But it's like, it's structured similarly, and I think it hits something that's very true. And then British was like, well, we do have our equivalent of practice makes perfect, but it's a much longer... There was never yet a master who fell from the heavens.
Nice.
So that's not how masters are made. Masters are made through practice, which I really like that because, first of all, it's much more evocative. But also, it entails the message of practice makes perfect, while also getting at the underlying attitude that leads a lot of people to shun practice.
Yeah.
Which is the fear of incompetence and the feeling that they're not, I'm not a master.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be doing this.
The fear that because somebody might be capable of mastering it quicker than you, that you can never be as good or even better than they are.
Or that in your early stumblings, you should be,
as
ashamed.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, I'll never be able to do this if I'm this bad. The very first time I tried to paint. So this is the first game in the Kunio-kun series, which appears, let's see, as almost as much, or tied for the most of any series, I think, on our list so far. Because
certainly there are a lot of Kunio-kun games.
Yeah. And I guess some of that will come down to us maybe needing to debate whether some of them can. Well, let's find out. Well, we will find out eventually. Oh no. Stempinski, I totally missed when you redeemed the highlight the message. I didn't see the highlighted message, ironically. But that's I'm sorry, folks. We once again, Greg, did the thing where we didn't show name on screen.
Oh shoot! So nobody was seeing me play?
Nobody saw you play. We just discussed it. Well, at least this is definitely showing because it's on the Switch.
Yeah, people are seeing this, yes? Liking it? Yeah, so I guess the Kunio-kun, pretty basic story. You are Kunio-kun.
You're Kunio.
Thank you, Stempinski. So you are Kunio-kun. You are a high schooler, a delinquent in the classic sense.
Oh man, there were so many messages. Why were the messages not showing?
Yeah, we weren't seeing the messages at all. They weren't showing.
Oh, I know why. It's because it's the same thing we did last time, which I never took it out of full screen, so we were just watching the game. We weren't watching the stream. The lack of our own faces should have been the tell.
Yeah.
But we're both so we're both so humble and lacking in vanity.
Yeah, we're not constantly staring at ourselves. Nice. Getting on the face of a downed opponent. And
it's a satisfying move that just always feels like it's missing when it's not in another beat 'em up.
Yeah.
And it isn't in most of them. It's not even in most Technos beat 'em ups.
So yeah, your friend gets beat up by a rival gang from a rival school. You go out to beat them up. And
then it just keeps happening.
It just keeps happening. Nice.
And so there's no scrolling in this. There is eventually a stage that is more than one screen.
Yeah.
But you do just beat one screen and then advance to the next screen.
Well, some of this is... There is a minor degree of scrolling. We are scrolling...
The screen scrolls, but we're not advancing anywhere.
Yeah,
we're just in a battlefield.
Yeah.
But every stage in the first beat 'em up is very much just a martial arts gang fight scene. Right up to the level of the game, like the boss literally hanging back and observing as you fight his goons. I got off to a really great start against these guys.
Yeah, you're not doing grand now. You just can't get on the same line as him. I don't know why. He should be coming right at you. That's what makes the most sense, right?
Ah, man.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's frustrating because in terms of game flow, you absolutely... Well, I'm just getting a game over. Okay, good. But I need to get the extra life. You were right about Kung Fu Master, Stimpinski. Oh, man. What a bunch of clowns. I need to knock a dude out. Got it. Yeah, dudes out here not even flinching as people try to run them over on motorcycles. Just jumping up and kicking them right in the face. Knocking them unconscious. And then these dudes are like, especially the guys who don't have a stick and are wearing a sickness mask. Although I think they're wearing the sickness mask like because it looks
to
cool.
conceal their identities.
Yeah, like they're not doing it because they have a cold and a sense of civic duty.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah, so this game, the first beat 'em up, has the weird punch in front of you, punch kick behind you controls, where the two buttons are left and right,
yes,
rather than punch or kick. You declare which direction you want to attack in, and the context decides what the move will be.
Oh, nice. It doesn't make you redo the motorcycle bit.
No, that's why a key part, at least if you're not going to... I don't know why I wouldn't just go into the options. I'm sure you can just turn it up to start you with lives, because you start with your one life.
Yeah.
So a key part of the progression on the default settings is you got to get that extra life. It's ideal if you can actually beat this level. Well, it's always obviously ideal to beat the level.
That's usually
but
the
it's
goal.
very difficult to do. Because it's tough to get a good enough roll going.
The stick guys are the hardest ones.
They are. Because they have a stick.
Oh, and now the bosses join the fight.
Yeah, and the boss, like ideally you want to take the stick guys out at the start. Because you still got to beat them. Oh.
Tough. Yeah, so this has all the ingredients of a beat 'em up. I think you're right.
It's
like,
got an
the levels,
excellent moveset. Like, there's
yes.
so many moves. The fighting is challenging.
Yeah.
The arcade beat 'em ups will very quickly lose any kind of sense of like challenge balance, because this is the only one I'm aware of that doesn't have continue where you stand option. This doesn't even have continue.
No.
If you lose and you want to put in another quarter and try again, you can start at level 1 and prove that you deserve to re-experience the higher levels. And that might be a little extreme, but not letting you continue right where you fell means that the game isn't just about killing you frequently enough that you'll keep pumping in quarters without ever rewarding really or punishing you for how good you are.
Here we've got the female gang. Everyone with their super long skirts.
And the brick purse ladies. So this is an interesting one. Among other things, the whip girls do a lot of damage. They're the weapon version of the enemy, even though they're both carrying weapons. But they go down in a single... I don't know if we have a clear definition, Stimpinski, but some of the characteristics are that it simulates a martial arts, one person fighting a bunch of people, or two people fighting a bunch of people, or four sometimes. But, you know, outnumbered fighting against goons is the key element of the gameplay. Major, like, I don't know if you can say that the Z-axis is necessary, but maybe you can. It's always,
I think
it's always there at least a little in every one of the games, like, or it's even there as the main thing. And then some kind of rough symmetry between the capabilities and statistics and like the rules governing enemies, or most enemies at least, and the player.
Yeah.
Like, just like Kunio, the enemy characters in this game can get, stun locked when they get hit with a punch. Eventually they've taken enough damage that they fall down. They can only be knocked out on a fall down, even if you've exhausted their hit points. And all those rules also govern how you play.
Yep.
One of the main distinctions of the Kung Fu Master, which we didn't see just now, but me and Greg talked about, and me and Greg saw. And
trust us, it happens.
Yeah, if that melody like stuck out to you, then you know, is that there's no symmetry between the abilities at all. The enemies, the main enemies, are just trying to grapple, like run up and hug you.
Yeah.
They go down to a single hit. Beat 'em up enemies damage you by hitting you, just like you damage them. They can't hurt you just by touching you. They are not Koopas. I ran out of time. I was doing pretty well though.
You were, yeah.
Do you want to re-experience Renegade?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Nekketsu Kunio-kun.
Nekketsu Kun. Oh, you gotta input your.
There. Just keep hitting the one that takes you forward, and you'll get there eventually.
I'll get there one day. So yeah, I think a big thing about beat 'em ups is that you know them when you see them. I do think the Z-axis is. Oh, I'm not playing. Hold on. There we go. Oh, I gave myself 2 credits.
Ah, yes. So, I played several of these. I mean,
Yes.
Kung Fu Master, obviously. Yayar Kung Fu. I've never played... No, I have played Yayar Kung Fu 2. But Yayar Kung Fu 1 I played a lot because it was on the 42-in-1 bootleg cartridge that my father got me for Christmas on the same year I got my NES. So I got my first video game console along with a pirated 42 games in one cart. And one of those games that was merely called Kung Fu in the list of games, which is also the name given to Kung Fu Master when adapted to the NES. But this was not Kung Fu Master. This was Yayar Kung Fu. Tough game. My recollection of the NES version is that when you beat Mu, the 5th enemy, you just cycled back around and fought them all again. But is there an actual stopping point? Where it like says like, you've done well, son.
I gotta get away from the edge.
That Yayar Kung Fu is obviously much more analogous to fighting games. It's a one-on-one, flat plane, jumping around, trying to land hits. That's a really fun game, too.
Get the hell beat out of me.
That's a classic.
I'm out.
And, geez, on the C64, would The Last Ninja, does that ring a bell for you, Stimpinski? That's not a beat-em-up. That's a... yeah, I don't think I ever made it through the second cycle. All the way. But I remember, like, okay, first you fight a guy. The first one's just a guy. And then... does the second guy breathe fire? I know that I think the third guy has a chain. The fourth guy is a woman.
The fourth guy is a woman.
And then the fifth guy, I know his name is Moo. Is he just like a bald guy who's really good at fighting? Chain was the fifth. This might be a difference between the NES and another version. I feel like in the NES version, the chain guy came earlier.
Ooh.
I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to look at it. I got the urge now to play that again. I've never played the C64 version. I've played the arcade version on emulator, and I've played the NES version a ton.
No, he's got me. Yeah, that's a way to go.
It's a challenging game.
Yep.
But it's more than most beat 'em ups. It really forces you to think about fighting multiple people at a time. I think one of the great advantages of the front-back attack control scheme is that you've got a move that's just for stopping the guys who are getting behind you.
Yeah.
And the
people will get behind you.
Like, and I don't know how much there is to the AI beyond it's always got two guys who are squaring off at you, and the less engaged one will try to get your back while you engage with the other one.
Hello.
Like, I'm not sure if there's any difference in aggression levels between enemies. It feels like that sometimes. Like, you get one guy who kind of wants to, like, just hang back. But if it achieves that feeling, then it's done something right. And the basic idea of these guys will try to get your back, and they'll try to, like, you can always get a knockout on a guy who you've downed if you pound him enough. But most of the time...
But you leave yourself open for it.
Most of the time, a guy will try to do a running knee to your face to get you off his buddy. I think that's close, Stimpinski.
Yeah.
One of the tricky things, though, is that, like, on the PlayStation, and I can't remember even what it's called. It might be just like Freedom Fighters. We'll get there eventually. But I know there's an all 3D beat 'em up for the PlayStation that is otherwise, from what I remember, recognizably a beat 'em up.
Yeah, I think you can have beat 'em ups in 3D. But I think the Z-axis is more of like the earliest model of a 3D environment.
Yeah.
Because like, for example, here, like in Kung Fu Master, you can't get off the same axis as the characters.
No.
So whenever a character reaches you or throws a knife at you or whatever, it will hit you if you can't dodge it. Like the hugging guys, you can't dodge their move. When they touch you, you are hugged.
Yeah.
And must wiggle your way out of it. But with Kunio-kun, if he wants to get off of the range of one of these guys, he can move up and down. He can move not 3D, because of course this is a 2D environment, but he has a sort of degree of movement that adds to the fight. He can do crowd control, walk right off an edge, as he does in this preview play. He has a degree of crowd control that he can. This is.
Yeah. You hang on. Is that the? Oh yeah, we've swapped.
Yeah, we've swapped fully. There you go.
Okay.
There is a degree of freedom of movement that I think is important to a beat 'em up, because there's a degree of freedom of movement in these sort of kung fu fights. Like you're not going to see. I mean, even in the modern trend of kung fu fights, the hallway fight, there is an incredible degree of 3D movement going on. Characters bounce off walls. They move into and out of side rooms. Like.
Let's try this a second time, Greg. We won't spend as much time on it. But I'm putting up Kung Fu Master.
This time for real. Now, we're not going to full screen it. We're going to... And, guys...
There we go.
Believe it? Are you looking at Kung Fu Master?
Oh, they are. I can see our faces.
Fantastic.
Now that I take the time to look, I can see that our faces are there. All right. I'll give a shot to old Kung Fu Master. Just as... to reiterate.
So beautiful.
It's an attractive game. Like it looked
so
good
colorful. The palette is a good choice.
Yeah, it looked good. Like this Kung Fu Master, adapted to the Famicom or NES as simply Kung Fu, has the interesting distinction of being in America in that original wave of releases. Yeah, we were talking about how Sylvia must be like she has the X-axis that none of the Z-axis none of the rest of them do.
Yeah.
So she's slightly back and avoids that knife.
That's a power.
But yeah, in the original wave, if you picture a NES game where the box has an enhanced version of pixel graphics from the game itself,
nice. Well
that first generation of NES titles, that's the only non-Nintendo game in that whole collection. It's the only third party. Oh no. Oh man.
It's hard. I
thought I had him.
But yeah, so again, like I'm saying,
I'm getting better at using a joystick. Sorry.
Yeah.
But this is a game I still yearn for a pad with. So sorry, you were saying?
So yeah, as I was saying earlier, like there's obviously no 3D movement here, and there's no, like you said earlier, there's no symmetry between the player and the enemies here.
Yeah.
Like again, like the movesets are not the same. And I think later, as we progress through the genre, we'll see more things get added on that I think are very indicative of beat 'em up. Certainly, if you were going to do a modern beat 'em up, if you were going to do a retro revival, or a modern 3D take on the genre, then there's things later on that I think are core, but they're not necessary. You know, like you can have a golf. Like if we're looking at other genres of games, you can have games that exist in the platformer like conversation that are very simple, that are just jumping, just hitting, landing on platforms, even without enemies. But you can also have things.
Seriously, Stimpy, it's one of the differences. Like the Renegade enemies will clinch you, but they'll also just punch you in the face.
Yeah.
They are not just weird huggers.
Nice.
Ah!
He got you there.
I think they have a second knife, but they have to think about it. They throw one and they're like, did it hit him? Shit, what do I do now? And then, they don't remember fast enough. Oh!
I really get you in the...
I was starting on the jump,
getting in the ankle. It's a bad way to go. But yeah, if you're doing a platformer, it could be a platformer with just jumping on platforms. But there's obviously so much more you can do in the platform, world, and it'd still be a platform. There are some ridiculous power-ups and different abilities that you can have that you can add to that. And then I would argue also that there's...
that got bad.
That got real bad.
I'm having really bad luck with the huggers.
They're not good. You don't want to get hugged.
No, when you are surrounded by dudes throwing knives who care absolutely nothing for their hugger vanguard, the huggers are a real big threat. Ah, damn it.
Yeah, it's a bit of soccer goalie that you're gonna get hugged.
Okay.
You're gonna get hugged.
Okay.
Alright. So it was not yet a beat 'em up, but on its way.
Yes.
Certainly the idea of a fighting game. That's the other thing too, which I've said this before, is fighting games also come out of this genre. Beat 'em ups predate fighting games, and fighting games like Mania is a wrestling game. It is on its way to beating a beat 'em up, and it is on its way to being a fighting game. Because fighting games also have a lot of the things that are indicative of beat 'em ups. Stun locking, symmetry, multiple different moves linked to multiple different buttons.
Okay. One last obvious back to the start thing that we must do. Hold on. There.
Okay.
Is the original Double Dragon, which I do not believe I have for whatever reason. I have the Arcade Archives Double Dragon 2, but not 1.
Okay.
And it occurred to me to buy it just for tonight. And for, my own having it in the future. But it occurred to me far too late. But I do think we should re-experience Double Dragon Arcade. So here we go. Firing it up on MAME, but we're gonna make sure there we go. We've exited the full screen so that everyone can see it and we can see if people are talking to us. New Year's resolution. That's the last time we're going to make that particular production mistake.
Good. This year. Look forward to it in 2025.
Oh, hold on. One thought.
What's that? Sound?
Yeah. Maybe turn that down a little. But alright. So here's the this is your iconic first one. 2-player. I don't know if that created both of us, or if I'm going to have to press the other one.
We seem to both be in there.
Yep.
Martine, we meet him much later. Okay, we got a jump button and we get a punch button.
Yeah. So the punching here is very similar in one way to Renegade, which is that they plant their feet and they just lean into it a little, start wailing.
There he goes.
It's different in that, have you found all 3 of your buttons, Greg?
Maybe?
There you go.
Oh yeah, I knew jumping.
Ooh, a little friendly fire there.
A little bit. Yeah, so this introduces another major bit into beat 'em ups that I don't think is required, but does, I think, honestly can improve a game vastly, which is multiplayer.
Multiplayer and scrolling through a stage.
Well, this is the big thing, yeah. So is this the first one to introduce that? Or...
Enemies that drop their weapons.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think there are any Renegade or Kunio-kun ripoffs that predate Double Dragon.
So the other thing, though, is that here comes a Bobo.
A Bobo, much more realistic isn't quite the right word. Actually, honestly, a little more realistic with the physique. He's more just an ugly goon. And he very clearly has a goatee.
Yeah.
And like a tight goatee.
Whoa! big over-the-head throw.
So
I like Scoop Moto.
I think in pretty much every case, the home version of the Double Dragon games is the better version.
This is not bad.
But this is a lot. It's a lot of fun. And in the early going here, at least, it's not like going cheap on us to take our coins away.
No.
Our quarters.
I might be on my last quarter here, though. Ooh, knife from off screen. Never fun. Who threw that?
It was this guy. I don't think it was off screen.
I didn't see him throw it, though.
I wish I did. Oh man, does he ever?
He does,
Original Abobo looks exactly like that guy. Abobo gets shown up in the very first arcade level by a much cooler giant jack dude who's got more like... It's not quite Mr. T because it's a pure mohawk.
He does pity the fool, though.
Yeah, and we don't have this Sosen Setsuken. The classic spinning jump kick thing the Double Dragons do.
No.
He loves this fall away slam where he doesn't fall away.
Oh, yeah, he got me. Oh, I have a 0 life, though.
Yeah, you do. You do get 2 lives to start. Nice.
Damn.
Yeah.
When did you go through your first life?
Recently,
I
like
didn't notice.
against this guy.
Yeah. He loves that. Oh, nice, you got him.
Okay.
Bonus points. Yeah, so, one thing this game does not introduce, which comes in later, and I do think is, again, not necessarily something that makes a beat 'em up, but maybe something that makes a beat 'em up a good beat 'em up, which is that guy's gonna get exploded by some dynamite. Nope, has a longer fuse than I thought. Which is characters who are different but equal. By which I mean, like, we don't get Billy and Jimmy have the exact same moveset.
Exact same moves, exact same stats, everything.
Yeah.
Which I would say makes them different but equal. But I get what you're getting at, which is that, like, oh, how do you do the headbutt? Oh yeah, just tap tap in the direction.
But you know what I mean, though. There's not a strong but fast guy. There's not...
No.
Strong but fast. Strong but slow.
It's interesting that the original trilogy of Double Dragon games, and even Sextet, if you count the very different ports, never landed on any sort of standardized moveset or control scheme.
Nope.
Double Dragon 2 will have will lack some of the moves that this game has. Will add the Sensetsuken. But then perhaps most notably, man, this guy takes a lot of baseball bat shots to the belly. And 6-foot falls onto concrete.
What am I doing? Oh, I see. You can't jump up.
No.
Just trying to jump up. Okay.
But Double Dragon 2 famously brings back the front-back attack scheme of Renegade, or Nekketsu Kunio-kun.
Okay.
Here comes a bunch of them.
Shocking that I didn't hit any of them.
Name chugs pretty hard.
It does indeed. Look at us. Look at us go along. It's like a stop motion.
I'm not sure if this is arcade accurate.
If it chugged in the arcade?
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't. Not this much, at least.
Probably not.
But maybe a little, certainly.
Kind of an interesting thing about the Double Dragon NES port is that they had to make a ton of sacrifices to achieve this, and I'm not sure if it was even worth it. But they optimized that game so much, it runs better than, like, any game on a, like, it's so smooth no flicker, no. Like you look at even like masterpieces like Mario 3. Mario 3 has an entire like dead column of screen space because they like to make it work. They had to not only create the status bar at the bottom of the screen to reduce the viewing window, but then also just kill some of the screen real estate just to get it all on there running.
Nice.
That got her.
Nice headbutt.
Hey, sweet. Unintentional headbutt.
A lot of people coming out of this elevator.
But not all at once.
No, well, they can't all fit.
No, they're waiting. These guys got sick of waiting.
There we go. It's down to you.
This guy is such a visual downgrade for a boss.
Yeah.
This guy looks not only significantly less cool than the first boss, but not even as cool as the iconic mid-level boss, Abobo, from the first mission.
Did we even get a mid-level boss in this one?
I don't think we even did.
No. I mean, we got the Lindas coming, but they came in multiples. Oh, that poor guy's stuck on the treadmill.
Ah,
We've all been there.
being stuck on a treadmill would be so boring. Oh no, I'm hitting the wrong button. I meant to jump and kick him, not just jump in the air and then land next to him and then do nothing even though I had the opening.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
There, kicked him right off the building. He's dead.
Down. Also, the connection between the levels.
I love that. Yeah, this
So
mission
good.
is really just like getting across the block in a very poorly designed urban area.
Yeah. This is supposed to be somewhat post-apocalyptic. That's never really sold in all of Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Even the new one, even Double Dragon Gaiden, which has a lot more story and like individual touches, doesn't really sell that it's post-apocalyptic.
I honestly wouldn't say that it has a lot more individual touches because like it doesn't have.
Well, I mean by that the world and the sprites are far more detailed.
Oh,
It's
sure.
capable of being.
Absolutely.
This certainly has tons of little touches. This feels like an urban environment. All the enemies feel unique in appearance, if not, you know, abilities. But yeah, if anything, this feels more like the Warriors than the Renegade the North American Kunio-kun.
Yeah, you don't really get a sense of urban decay, at least in Kunio. Like you do in Renegade, like the adaptation. But
Yeah, but you don't get it in Kunio. I mean, I'm not even sure if that was a huge part of...
I like these half brothers.
I don't even think that was a huge part in delinquent stories of the time, which Kunio is obviously based on. Because delinquent stories now, a lot of it has to do with... Oh, it's giving us the chance to insert a coin here, and you're putting in your name. There you go.
Okay,
So let's rate a couple of these bad boys.
let's get to work here. Enough fun and games.
Enough fun and games. Time for charts. What
Yeah.
everyone's here for.
Okay, so here we go.
Nekketsu, Kunio-kun,
So
Renegade.
we're not going to replay every one of these games as we classify them. I think we're at a point now where we can probably do a fair number of them right now.
Okay.
So let's do that. The system here is going to be a little bit messy, but we'll get through it. So the very first beat 'em up, Nekketsu Koha Kunio-kun.
The arcade and the NES port.
I think you know where my vote is going to go, Greg.
I think you're going to say boss tier.
I'm going to say boss tier. Greg, do you have any objections to classifying?
My only potential objection would be that it is an early entry in the genre, the
original.
first entry in the genre.
Shiodai.
Yes.
It's the original.
And that a lot of improvements are made on the formula in terms of just hardware, in terms of just ability of the programmers and the consoles for which they are programming. So I think there are a lot of better ones that come later just because they have more variety. But I think they do an incredible job with what they have, including the directional buttons, which I'm surprised more beat-em-ups don't use.
Well, I mean, as we
punch and the back kick.
One thing that we've learned, at least in the like standouts that people think of when they think of the genre, is very few of the imitators of Double Dragon thought to imitate its 2 attack button control scheme, which I think is often a detriment to those games. Many of those single button attack games are good.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they have. I don't know that they have it. But okay, so.
But I would say I would agree with you, boss tier. I just think
tier.
when we eventually rank these, it's I think going to end up lower than a lot of latter games. But low boss tier, I'm fine with that. Boom.
That would be quite a crossover, Cedric. Double Dragon, even if you just made all the bad guys, you could get like a Fire Emblem house out of just characters from Double Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't do a whole game. But in 3 houses, you could have 1 house.
But if we're doing a crossover, then Double Dragon would just make up.
So hey, once again, I guess you should say every now and then. The idea here is not to do any rankings yet. So on each tier, there's no necessary order.
No.
But
what
we are doing is we are sorting the games we played so far into 3 tiers. Boss tier, the games that are absolutely in conversation for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Mid tier, which is exactly what it sounds like. And then for the games that just suck. You know, mid tier games, if you wanted to kill some time, you could drop a quarter into, this is a beat 'em up that you this will kill 15 minutes.
There's nothing notable about them. They're not necessarily things
there might be things that are even notable but just don't stand out as great.
Yeah.
Like I think there are going to be some games that will say like there's absolutely something pretty notable about say Captain Commando.
Yes.
But not necessarily in an all-timer way.
Not one.
And then we'll have the Goon tier for the suck games that just suck.
Yep.
The games that you shouldn't play.
Yes. The games you should avoid.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you have time to kill. So, whoops.
We're looking at raw information here, James.
Oh man, the raw data.
Okay.
The adaptation to the NES, I think we can consign to mid-tier. It's fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same feel.
I'd agree with that. If we're going to split them into 2 different ones, I think the NES is the inferior of the 2.
Yeah, it's
so
absolutely fun.
Below.
But it's worse. Partially because it lacks the arcade aesthetics, but also just there's a descending from Mania. There's a real nice tactility to the feel of the fighting and the action in Kunio-kun that when it went back to the Famicom, it's a little it's simpler.
Yeah.
Very good game, but yeah.
Next up,
so then
Double Dragon the original.
All right, so we have the whole trilogy also has NES or Famicom adaptations that are all distinct enough that I don't think you'd call any of them the same game.
Now, we just played an arcade version. Should we play a NES Double Dragon just to see how, the difference is?
Yes, I don't see why not.
It's been a while, too. We can start with a ladder entry if you like.
No, that's not what I would like.
No, you'd like to play the original.
I mean, honestly, we might as well. We could dip into a bunch of them really quickly right now.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Could you pass the water?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's tricky. I'm surrounded with coolers.
My cables.
Oh my goodness.
You got it.
There we go. Okay. Just an awful lot of cables swirling around here. Okay.
Okay, we're going into the NES. Okay. Just a large cat howl in the background.
Here's a problem.
Unknown if that got picked up. Oh, is your controller dead?
No, the controller is connected.
But it's not.
But the Switch is the Switch frozen?
That doesn't happen.
It's happened twice to me.
Just try turning it off and on again?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, are we frozen on our screen?
No.
Is our capture frozen?
Oh, maybe. Oh, That is, in fact, exactly what's going on.
Yes.
In fact, I'd go so far as to say the capture card is not plugged in.
No, not us.
Yeah, we're fine.
We're fine. I'm talking about the caption.
This is, in fact, just a, like an image burn-in of back when we did have the capture card connected.
There we go.
There we go. And as you can see, when I thought it was frozen, I got us all messed up.
And now we're in.
But now we're back.
We're back.
So, let's go to... Where am I going? To the NES.
To the NES. I believe this is just straight up on the official.
It is, but now that I think about it, all 3 of the NES ones are here.
Oh, yeah. Don't have to flip around.
So, Double Dragon 1 for the NES goes back to being single player. That was one of the concessions. Or it has 2-player mode, but that's just pass play. Taking turns. They adapted the storyline so that the Double Dragons are at odds, and Jimmy is in fact the villain. Okay, original Double Dragon. I don't know why you would ever need a quality up emulation of this game, as we shall see. It's a very good song. Irreplaceable by Beyonce. But an objection I would like to raise to it, that I often do, is that opening line, to the left, everything you own in a box to the left. It's supposed to show like it's setting you up like she's doing dance steps and then turning it into, no, she's being dismissive. But nobody would ever say, like, your ex comes by to pick up their stuff and you're like, it's all there in a box to the left. Like, my left or your left, bitch? Like, we are standing at the door facing each other. Like, do not play this shit with me right now. Like, this is the worst time for us to be introducing this kind of tension into our relationship. The American artist was like, so these guys, like late 30s, heavy smokers.
Yeah.
These Double Dragons. Yeah, look at this. This is not the quality up emulation. Look how fast they all move.
Yeah.
How fluidly. Now, the concessions here include you only ever fight 2 enemies at a time, and they're always the same one.
Yeah. Because you can't have 2. There's a lot of.
Yeah, you know what? That's a fair point too, Cedric. Why would that be the worst time to add new pointless?
Yeah.
There is a little bit of scrolling.
Oh, there's scrolling for sure, but there's.
But I mean, like the scrolling
limitations.
Yeah.
But you can still pick up weapons.
It's just very fun.
It's very clear that they attempted to maintain as much of the feel of the original, if not,
Yeah.
Everything.
And now, because we were playing the MAME version, so who knows how much of this is down to emulation and how much of it is down to not having like big speakers in an arcade cabinet. Mm-hmm. But I think some of the songs sound better in this version.
I kind of agree, yeah.
And they're the same songs.
And I will say, having played some retro arcade cabinets from this era, these speakers might have been big, but they were not powerful or good.
No. It's not like they had subwoofers in there and stuff.
Like, a lot of the times, you could if there was a lot of people in the same room, you would not hear what was coming out of this. You would all have to be quiet to hear what was coming out of the speakers of the arcade cabinet. Alright. Already, too, we're seeing a bit of a different level design as well. We're not playing the exact same. But it's very clearly the same world.
Yes.
Like, again.
But it's the same, but also very different. And it gets more and more different. The one problem with our setup here that just occurred to me, Greg, is that I can go a long time on one life in this game.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because we all just play. We don't have to even all both play. We're just playing to remember.
Yep.
Because some of these games we played a long time ago, almost a year ago. Well, over a year ago, I think in some cases. When
some
did we
of them,
start
like,
the project?
I think there are some. We did start over a year ago.
Yeah.
It's just very, very early on was when we had the first New Year turnover where you became very ill for a protracted period of time. Or frequently and recurrently ill, I guess.
Yes.
So
Tough year.
they introduced a primitive experience system into this game. You don't start with the full move set, and points are awarded based on which move you use. So while the strategy for beating a Bobo is very much just to knock him off the edge of the conveyor belt with a simple jump kick,
Nice.
you want to put that off and try to get as many punches in on him as you can. Because I think a big part of having a successful run through this no continues, no extra lives game is to get at least into the cave in level 3 prior to losing a life, which is tough to do if you have to get through the fight against 2 Abobos with no gimmick conveyor belt and you haven't unlocked the biggest moves.
Yeah.
So you want to be landing as... There might be a more efficient system than all punches, but I'm not sure because punches are pretty low damage and they're higher. They're not bad for points. 20 points per punch. There are moves that give you more than 20 points, but I think you can't. Oh no.
Oof. Don't want that.
No.
You don't want to take
Perhaps I'll lose a life sooner than anticipated because I'm expounding. And that would be ideal,
That's
really,
fine.
for our purposes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of you never get the punch knockdown on Will with the bat.
I like your big pink bat though. That's very good. Nice.
Ah, Z-Axis got you again. If somebody ever comes at you with a lit stick of dynamite, just fake them out on the Z-Axis.
Yeah, that's
They'll
the way
throw
to
it where
go.
you were just standing. Okay,
There
good.
you go.
Good. Well timed, Will.
Oh, and now we're back to mission 1 for
Greg
Greg's
can
game.
re-experience a little bit of Double Dragon 1.
Oh, hit the pause button. Just finding the buttons.
Yeah. There's really just punch kick and then press both at the same time and jump.
Yep.
And then, of course, the double tap forward when you've unlocked headbutt.
Which we have not yet.
No, you have not gotten into any levels yet. But it might even be the first. It's either the first or the second level up. Or maybe, do you already have it? Try double tapping.
I did.
Okay, never mind. You start with the headbutt.
Damn. I want to get surrounded by the Lindas.
Yeah. So, like, obviously giving up 2 players simultaneous is a big sacrifice.
Yeah.
But this
especially
is
for a game called Double Dragons.
Yes. But, I mean, they did take care to explain. These guys were the Double Dragons. And then the one of them betrayed the other. So it still makes sense to call the game Double Dragon. Okay. I'm going to leave you to this for a moment.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Sure thing. So honestly, it's an incredible. These ones more so than the Kunio-kun ports. I think it's important that we play both on this particular show because they do have a very different feel. Like they are not just straight ports with no changes at all. They are changed both, I think, for hardware issue problems. Oh. I don't give you a lot of time.
No.
Gotta sit and watch your friend play. He's not gonna call you. So yeah, there's not a lot of there are a lot of changes made for hardware supportability, but I think they took care to be like, well, we have these hardware limitations. How can we change the gameplay cycle to, not make this feel awful? And they do it, I think, very effectively.
Oh, the game feels great.
Yeah. Like, we're obviously not getting to rankings yet. But
No.
I think there's a real, I don't think it's clear cut which between the arcade and the NES version is the superior game.
I lean towards the NES for the first game, but I agree that it's not as clear cut. I think with Double Dragon 2, it's pretty clear cut because of the excellence of the Famicom version. And then with Double Dragon 3, it gets kind of dicey. I guess we'll. I don't know. I don't think either Double Dragon 3 is a boss tier game.
3, no, I would agree with that.
I think that the NES version had everything it needed to be, and just didn't bring it all together properly.
Again, and another thing, and we'll talk about this as we go. Not a lot of like consistency in the controls. Like a lot of what makes a Double Dragon game is honestly just the characters, kind of the world. Although they tweak that a little bit between games as well, to make it more or less urban, or urban decay. Urban decay, a huge part of this genre.
Yep.
Just from top to bottom, just having guys beating each other up in the city is a huge...
Shame neither of us made it to the second fight of Mania tonight, because then everybody would go, oh, hey, that's the Karate Master from level 2. Yes, it is. It's Chintai Mei.
It is. Again, a major character in Double Dragon. Like, that's the thing about Double Dragon is it's really defined by its characters more so than its gameplay mechanics.
Well, like, I think the gameplay, it's weird how the controls dance around a lot and they try to do a lot of different things. And the movesets change. But they all feel like pretty close. I don't know. But okay, Double Dragon 1, we get the idea. But let's continue our quick tour here.
Yeah, let's keep going. Going over to Double Dragon 2, the Rosetta Stone.
Double Dragon 2, The Revenge.
Sorry, 3 is the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, we'll play it original just to keep it pure. Yeah, Capcom doesn't even get the credit. It was Technos.
Nope. Well, is it really a guest fighter if you predate your game you're most well known for?
Well,
is he a guest fighter in Double Dragon, or is he a guest fighter in Mania?
He's a retroactive
guest fighter.
I think B is the one that is proper.
You mean with the...
Friendly Fire.
Friendly Fire, yeah. Yeah. Let's get in.
Okay. In 19XX, violence ruled the streets even after nuclear war. This is the basic setting.
At least 24 years ago.
2 young men were brave enough to challenge them, while their names were Billy and Jimmy Lee. People called them the Double Dragons! Hell yeah. They had a terrible enemy. They attack. The arcade version has a very kind of abrupt and tacky version of the killing of Marion.
Yeah.
This is very evocative with just a couple of quick shots. Boom. Oh, we don't need to see the violence.
No.
And then here we are. Like, yeah, not the same sprites even though they're extraordinarily similar, but just no. They're like, no, we can draw that better, slightly better.
There we go. Now I'm in it.
But now we have the front and back attacks.
We have the front and back attacks.
We've abandoned the basic experience point system from the previous game. We've got a Mario 3-esque struggle to emulate a column of, at least during scrolling.
God, I love their stances. I love.
Yeah.
And the world, like I say, the world is very slightly tweaked. I do think this one. Yeah, the cartwheeling really adds a menace to them. I will say this game does feel a little bit more post-apocalyptic than the first one.
Yeah, and in the arcade especially. Hey, got my voices. Welcome. You got the subscription star now.
Nice.
That we ran the hard sell emote wars pitch on you. Somebody started using Greg a bunch.
Nice. Oh, we have to head up. That's what that's telling us. We must climb together, brother. Oh, shoot.
There we go.
Oh, do not want to fall off the edge. I don't fully know if you can at this point. Okay.
If we had a big enough subscriber base, we could use the emotes during Friday Night Frosthaven for gimmicks for people who would like vote or something for things.
Yeah. If only Witch had strong opinions about things.
Yeah. Yeah, here the game has temporarily locked us into left-right scrolling.
There is no Z-axis here.
But it's still recognizably a beat 'em up. These guys have really defined shoulder blades when they're climbing.
They do. Yeah. This is a fun game.
This is a great game.
This is a great game. And again,
I think this is the best of the original 6 Double Dragon games.
he's Burn Row.
It honestly might
Shit out of me.
burn off. Yeah, it actually might be just the best Double Dragon game still.
It's very good. I don't think there's much of an argument to say, damn, Burn Row.
Funny thing with Burnov is that you fight multiple Burnovs in the arcade version, and so the earliest ones just die when you beat them, and they dissolve. He does the dissolve once, and then it's a gimmick of later Burnovs that they bring themselves back. There's only one Burnov is never a repeating enemy, I don't think, in Double Dragon 2. So they did the he comes back gimmick the very first time.
And now he's dead for good.
Yeah. And he doesn't. It's not like he recharges his whole health bar.
Escaping the chopper. You'll
No
never
explanation. There's no why does Burnov dissolve in the first place? Why can he reconstitute himself through his willpower? Does he have any other powers? None of this is really made super clear. It's probably a side effect of the radiation from the nuclear war.
Oh, pipe. I was like, dude, I want us to jump off the roof? That feels wrong.
Yeah, so this brief level is entirely a forced side-scrolling.
Yeah.
But we are otherwise fighting by the same rules against enemies who take damage just like us, who get stun-locked and knocked down just like us.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, right. I fall for this so often. Like, the majority of times of the many times I've played Double Dragon 2, I've gotten machine gunned by this helicopter.
Nice done.
They still hadn't got to the point in the home versions where we're still always just fighting the same guys.
Yeah.
And by the same token, the weapons vanish when you switch guys.
Yeah, you can't keep somebody's weapon when the new guy... Oh, shit. Wrong button.
I think because there's so much more variety in the level design, it doesn't stand out as much, even though it is the exact same limitation of the previous game. This is a good example of an enemy that brings some more... Oh, hold on a sec. Brauschoy has an extensive offer about something. Well, check it out. Go to hell. I don't want it. But he's not selling followers or anything. So you're not banned as long as you never say anything again in our chat.
Watch for as long or as little as you like.
But you're on warning now. One more message in the chat and you're banned from the chat forever.
I want to go on this
So
helicopter.
make it count.
Whoa, ninjas.
Yeah, now Chintai-mei is two guys.
Jesus, he's good.
And you learn how to fight with little like devil sticks.
And ninja stars. And knives that you jump over that I don't.
Oh, I forgot the rising knee.
Mine.
I love the like buried context moves. Like
Yeah.
there's no control to take a knee. It happens either while you're getting up or when you've just jumped. But while rising from a knee, that's when if you hit the jump button, you will... oh, whoops. We missed the excellent message of grasp. So this is just brilliant level design. Not even occupying an entire single screen.
You do not want to be
giving us all this negative space. And then just being like, it's a helicopter. Every now and then, if that door opens, you might get sucked out.
And you don't want that. Nice!
And the same rules apply to the enemies. Do you like how I didn't kick you in the back of the head there?
A Bobo with hair?
70s a Bobo.
I do like how you didn't kick me. I thank you for that.
Whoa! That Abobo did not actually have that much in him.
No?
I always defeat these Abobos by tricking them out of the helicopter. You hideous pumpkin-faced freak. And yeah, that uppercut too is another when crouching.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's no crouch. You just have to do it while... Alright. Let's play some Mission 4 and then stop.
Okay.
And move on to Double Dragon 3. Because we're 3/4 through our time. And we've ranked, or sorted, not even 10%.
No! Nowhere near!
No, maybe, no, not even 10.
I'm happy if this phase takes a while, though. Like, the first phase didn't take, no time at all.
No, but this shouldn't...
And there's no reason we need to zoom through this, either.
No, we don't.
Like,
what's
our time
some of it's going to go...
Some of it's going to go a lot quicker, because we're
going
to go through some games
we don't need to replay Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. You know that it sucks. I never want to play that game again. That's part of how I know it sucks. Because there are a lot of games that I will play more than once in my life, and not all because I think they're great. There are some
spikes on the ceiling.
Yeah, there are some purely okay games, say on NES Online, like Shadow of the Ninja. That's an alright game.
Yeah.
I play that a fair amount. Two James emotes. If we just... Alright, you know what? It might be worth just being like, look at this piece of shit. And yet at the same time, it really sucks. In a way that made me very upset.
I like that we did that simultaneously, though.
Yep.
Damn, we're really together and not at all, eh?
I can't remember the name of it, but there's an 80s adventure movie where in the end, the cave is collapsing. Like a volcano is erupting and they have to get out of the cave system. And one of the villains who has been alongside one of the heroes, or maybe he's not even a villain, but just like a henchman character or something. But he and one of the main characters are both trying to get across the platforms in the cave with the lava swirling around. And the bad guy, I guess, has a moment of despair, and he grabs the good guy by the shoulders and, acknowledging that they're giving up, says, "We go together." And then he jumps, and the hero just doesn't jump. I saw the end of that movie once when it was on television at my friend's house, just as I was leaving when I was a kid, and that part really stuck with me. And then separately, there's a guy who was very offended about having been forced at gunpoint to eat gems, because I remember. That's the platforming here isn't that bad, but that's an offensive way to do that.
Yeah. Just, hey, better be paying attention.
Hey, we beat the undersea base pretty efficiently.
Dude, yeah.
Where does this path lead us? We've got no choice to go on, though this is the way to certain death. And indeed, it's the Forest of Death. They've got signs up. Danger! Forest of Death.
Watch out. Death.
Yeah, be careful. A weird hybrid apocalyptic street gang / ninja cult operates their headquarters in this Forest of Death. If you don't want to get beaten in the face with a ball and chain by the most post-apocalyptic version.
I'm dead. That's my first death.
Yeah, we're doing good.
We're doing good.
Of course, we're not playing officially. We're on warrior mode and not supreme master.
Of course.
And at the end, it just tells you, "Nice try." But you got to beat it on the real difficulty to get the ending.
Which is a bit.
Yeah, that's a good way to... Huh. In both of our cases there, it looked like we missed above, which we did not.
What?
Okay, you gotta be moving for the second jump here.
I'm dead.
I don't think it's possible to do it from... Maybe it is, because I think it's the same...
I will say,
Anyway.
this is an issue that a lot of games of this era had. A lot of games of this era have, still occasionally games have, but now I think it's called out a lot more and like universally ridiculed, which is a lot of the games of this period were just like, now a little bit of platform.
Yeah, or Double Dragon 1, we didn't get to it, but in the cave, in addition to the game that is not in the original, it's just a bunch of rocks, a bunch of stalactites are falling. You gotta dodge those. That's what people like to do when they're playing a Nintendo game, right?
Yeah.
And like, sure, if I'm playing a good platforming game on Nintendo, I don't want to do that in the middle of a beat 'em up.
No.
I think that the platforming is as
thought that
well
one up
designed as platforming in a game. Oh man,
Oh man. I mean, you don't want to have that happen to you. I'll tell you that. Nicely done. These Abobos are not as tough as the Abobos.
And Double Dragon 1 Abobos, not at all.
No.
It's the hair. He's a reverse Samson.
Yes.
It's his shiny
shit,
pumpkin dome.
He's gonna kick you off the edge.
I don't think there's an edge on this side.
No, there isn't. You're right. That's his greatest flaw. Do you know the Hulk character Doc Samson?
I've heard of him.
Doc Samson is the Hulk psychiatrist. He has eventually gets gamma powers, and he has long green hair that he grows when he enters his super form, which is just him but super buff and long green hair. And eventually they just stopped depicting him as anything but super buff with long green hair until the relatively recent Immortal Hulk run, in which his mind was swapped with the Canadian superhero Sasquatch.
Okay.
And so then he was just depicted, he was renamed Doc Sasquatch, and they just had him be Sasquatch but green. And it honestly is the single best, I think, character.
This is the worst part of this game.
This?
This challenge. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. See, this is hard. This is platforming. Nope.
But it's... The really hard part is that stupid steam.
Yep. About timing.
Sure is.
It's about strength.
And eventually,
it's about power.
eventually the steam can kill you too, which is lovely.
Yep. Really struggling with that final bar on the side there. Damn.
But
Can you duck it?
No, there's no ducking.
That's true.
Ducking is just a thing that happens for a moment when you just jump. These guys do not have good ankles.
Nope.
So they're jumping barefoot. I mean, we're in the forest now, but when they're on city streets. Yeah, and it's random which one sprays.
Ducking is a myth.
No, it's real. I saw it, but... Okay, yeah. Game over.
Game over.
Which I'm fine
Alright, so let's rank these suckers.
Well, hold on. We're not going to spend much time on it, but we might as well fire up old Double Dragon 3.
Oh yeah, sure.
Which had a lot of potential.
So this is the Sacred Stone. The arcade was the Rosetta Stone.
Yes, and they're similar but different. The story
Much like
is...
Harry Potter, the first book.
Story's less stupid in this one.
Yeah, they call them sweaters instead of jumpers. But...
Oh. So, yeah. There's some real shortcomings in design choices in this game.
Bimmy and Jimmy!
Good. Bimmy and Jimmy. So we do have that classic mistranslation. We have some pretty good opening screens. This Hiroku appears. He has information about the girl's disappearance. You see at the end of Double Dragon 2, they get Marion back to life.
Yep, they resurrect him.
I don't remember how. But it happens. And then she gets kidnapped. But okay. So, the opening of this game would fill you with the hope that... Here's a weird thing, Greg. First, you had to press a button to make the select your weapon thing appear.
Yeah.
And then we gotta highlight your weapon. And then we gotta press select again to get back to the gameplay.
Okay. So we are down to a single button here.
No.
Well, two buttons.
Two buttons.
Kick, like,
jump and kick.
just changed a little bit. Okay. There's a little cut screen here, which is nice.
Yeah, it starts... You get the sense, like, okay, we're fighting in a single room in the dojo. We get a little dialogue with our dear friend Brett before he dies. More dudes come in. We're fighting two different guys at once. There are different moveset, including the completely absurd sort of blockbuster throw.
Yes.
Where you jump, grab onto their head, do a flip, and then throw them. And all the leverage occurs while your feet are not on the ground. Absolutely awesome move. Makes no sense. And we do have the Sensetsuken. You didn't see it just then because of the flicker.
There it is.
Classic, knees to the chest. We once again, you eventually leveled up to having the ground and pound in Double Dragon Nest, and then it's gone again.
Yep.
And it's not in most beat 'em ups yet.
We don't have directional buttons here. There's a kick and a punch, but they're not directional.
Yeah, we're back to that with a, I think, restricted moveset compared to Double Dragon 1. I think there's fewer moves, but I'm not sure. Of course, eventually in this game, we're not going to see it tonight, but eventually you actually earn entire new characters.
Yeah.
Instead of lives, this game had it so that whenever someone in your party is knocked out, they're gone. And if you have another party member to switch to, you can continue the game. Otherwise, it's over, and you have no continue. Mm-hmm. So, very first problem with that design is that in a two-player game, that just means we start with only one life each, and until we complete the second stage, and the first stage is difficult, and the second stage is difficult.
Yeah. It is a Fire Emblem crossover.
Yeah.
Also, something I didn't notice the first time we played these, because I think we played them spread out and we played the arcade versions between, that were much more zoomed out than we were in Double Dragon 2 for the NES. We look in terms of our sprite size, we're quite a bit more zoomed out. The levels are bigger because of that.
Yeah. There's a super satisfying chunkiness to the fighting here. Mm-hmm. They slowed the pace down a little bit more even. The NES games are slower, which I think... Oh, man. I love that. I love the pull them down and bunch of elbows to the back of the head. Hammer and anvil elbows.
Mm-hmm. Illegal in most combat sports.
Yeah, so after that brief fake-out of the dojo cutscene, we then get... This is still something. Because the rest of this level is the street fight. Then you come up here, which at least has some oddly shaped territory and the possibility of being thrown off. Or throwing someone off, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then after this...
just a little bit too far away.
All of the remaining levels in the game are mostly just proceeding from left to right, fighting dudes. Yeah. It's a lot duller than either of the NES games. And yeah, also Greg is gone now.
Yep.
If I lose before beating this level, it's just over. Yep. If I beat this level and die on the second level, it's just over. If I played single player, Jimmy's just not in the game. I don't get to switch between them and have a second life. It's not good.
Yeah, it's increasing the difficulty in a really sort of unneeded way.
Yeah, and another weird thing, besides that beating level 2 gets you another character and level 3 gets you another character for a total of 4 lives in 2-player or 3 lives in 1-player. Then, when you get to level 4, I think, you earn a single continue for the whole game.
Nice.
So they really backloaded it in a way that I think probably resulted... I'd be willing to bet a majority of people who purchased this game never saw the second stage. I'd be willing to put that marker down.
Yeah. I mean, impossible to do that survey, but yeah.
Yeah. There's no way we'll ever know.
Alright, let's rank these Double Dragons.
And then see where we can go from there.
Yes. Alright, so Double Dragon, the original, for the arcade. I would argue between it and the NES, I think we put it and the NES in the same tier. I think for later games, for Double Dragon 2 and 3, for 2, I think we're putting the arcade in mid and the NES in boss.
I think so.
And
like the arcade
3,
is,
I don't know.
The arcade's really good, but it's not. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Okay. So let's start. Okay. Double Dragon arcade, boss tier or mid tier?
I could hear arguments for both. It's definitely right on the line because I don't think it comes out of the gates as strong as Kunio-kun does.
No.
But
at the same time, it does in some ways. Like it comes out of the gates being like, "Hey, two of you can play this at the same time."
Yes.
And it's gonna scroll.
It's huge.
And those people with weapons, you can knock their weapon out of their hand and then use their weapon.
Yeah.
Which is really like, that's like the one really essential beat 'em up thing I think that Kunio-kun is missing.
Yeah.
Is like, why can't I knock this guy's stick out of his hand and then hit him around with a stick?
And Kunio-kun eventually gets that.
Oh, yeah.
But
like,
just Renegade, the original Kunio-kun.
Yeah, because otherwise,
the
like,
Kunio-kun,
there are things that game is missing that are typical, like, you know, scrolling stages that advance towards a goal, multiple characters, 2-player. Two-player would be great, obviously. But generally, like, I don't think those things, I think it survives just fine without it. But it is weird to not be able to take weapons. Okay, so boss tier for Double Dragon?
I'd say boss tier for Double Dragon. I'd say if we're going to put it in there, I'd say we got to put the NES port also in boss tier.
We have 2 Double Dragons in boss tier.
And then,
I think Double Dragon 2 warrants mid tier.
Yes.
In arcade.
In arcade, but NES we're putting in boss.
Yeah. The arcade version, which we didn't replay today, but it really, like, aesthetically it's great. There's some really great enemy designs. It brings back the front-back attack scheme, which is pretty cool. But it's way more into the, like, give us your quarters design style.
And also, when we're talking about graphics in this particular era, there is a degree, I think there is a graphical difference and the one is obviously graphically superior to the other. But there's also, at this point in time, like from the viewpoint of 2024, 2 days into 2024.
Yeah.
Really proud of myself for not saying 2023 though. They're both kind of like quaint and retro in almost the same way. So when we're comparing them, I'm looking at the NES port and saying like this like sprite work and these color palettes there's a charm to them in the same way, in the same but different way that there is a charm and an old fashionedness to the arcade games.
Yeah.
So like at this point when we're coming to graphics, it feels a lot like when we were younger, when I was a kid, when you were a young teen, when, you know, the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 divide was happening, and a lot of people were talking about like, oh no, you don't get it. Like, this new game has the best graphics you've ever seen. And then you go back and look at some of those today, and it's like, this skeleton looks like shit.
Oh, yeah.
But at the time, people were like, no, you don't get it. It's like real. You gotta watch these Final Fantasy cut screens. They go on for 6 minutes, but they're better than any CGI you've ever seen in any movie. True. Up to the year 2003.
3D graphics have an aging problem that 2D graphics don't have.
Because 2D graphics can be art that like does have charm to it. With 3D graphics, when you're trying to emulate reality more and more,
it's rough. Yeah. Like the 3D games that aged the best from the early generations have very, very low poly models.
Or, purposely stylized.
Yeah.
Like, purposely.
Like, at the time, we're getting a field from the beat 'em up here, but F-Zero GX, or F-Zero X, F-Zero X for the Nintendo 64, was critiqued at the time for its very simplistic graphics, which it used so that it could be an extremely fast, smooth game.
Yeah.
And the thing is that now, if you look back at a lot of PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 games, they look like shit.
Yeah.
And then the much simpler F-Zero graphics look great by comparison.
And when you look at a lot of the classic games from that period that people still talk about them, a lot of them are using the same tricks that early CGI films would use, where they are purposely being stylized like that by including things like flamboyant, brightly colored characters who are not supposed to look like real human beings.
So if everyone takes a look for a moment at the far right column here,
you'll
notice we have a lot of Technos, and then
East Technology Corp.
And that's our only weird, never heard of them developer. Because if you look at all the games we played so far, otherwise, we have Technos, Capcom, Konami, Rare, Sega.
That's kind of it. Now
Production Co. Limited.
For Splatterhouse 3.
Yeah, but even they were working on behalf of Data East, I believe.
Yeah.
But
so Double Dragon, where are we at?
By and large, we're at Double Dragon 3. I think that Sacred Stones is mid-tier because it's actually like a balancing thing where the really, really bad quest design and the bland level design are goon tier.
Yes.
And the moment-to-moment fighting and the idea of having multiple characters and of having a party that you switch between.
Yeah, and that becomes a huge part of later beat 'em ups.
Yeah, and
those characters do feel distinct in a way that the Double Dragons don't, because the Double Dragons are identical.
Twins who train together and have the same fighting style. But even in the first stage, did you replay a million times playing as Bimmy and Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's just really good fighting.
It is, yeah.
The hitting is really well done.
So that was my question for 3, is do we put them both in mid-tier or do we put arcade and goon tier?
Do we need to re-experience the arcade game for a moment?
Maybe just for a moment.
For a moment.
Probably the last thing
it's the last thing we can dip back into. And then we'll get through as many games as we can get through before we run out of time. Classification-wise.
Classification-wise.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll get back to looking at a spreadsheet.
Guys.
Oh, wait. This is a pain. Because now we don't have the... No, it's only my stick that's not plugged in. So, I just have to plug it in.
And remember, we're not going to make the same mistake where nobody can see the name.
We are not. We're not going to make that mistake. Although we are currently making a version of the mistake. Because if anyone's chatting right now, we cannot see a message.
Yes, we are looking at a full screen domain. We are not expecting you to see this full screen domain, but we are looking at it. Oh, somebody was chatting.
Guided by Voices was saying, well, let's find out. Yeah. We know that what people want to see is a spreadsheet gradually getting filled in. So, Billy and Jimmy, the portraits here,
look like King of the Hill.
Obviously, we're obviously looking at, a higher palette count.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the exact same, that shot of Hiroku and also our shot of Bimmy and Jimmy, looked way better in the NES version, aesthetically. Oops. Oh dear, what's going on?
There we go. Nah, man.
You're Jimmy. I'm Bimmy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly.
No, Cedric. It ends with them fighting like a mummy or something. It's pretty dumb, and these are the. It's not tech-wise that these are bad sprites. They just all look like shit. They're just poorly done. It's a bad style.
It is, yeah.
The backgrounds look worse, way worse.
This predates Mortal Kombat, yeah?
Yes.
It almost feels like it's aping it, though. In a way.
Oh, no, it's not. These are not digitized
They're
models.
not digitized, but it's like the look they're going for.
They're
trying to make them realistic.
Yeah.
There's a stiffness to it.
To the animation too, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do like how that... Okay, I like that they gave the enemies... So that's a pay-for-play weapon shop. You go in there and you can pump more quarters in to buy advantages. That alone ought to make this thing goon tier. For trying to establish microtransactions in 1992. Go to hell. Yeah.
I love that they bounce against the wall, though.
This is goon tier, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like,
I would say we put the NES port in mid and this in Kun. I like that it says peace. Also, this feels less post-apocalyptic again.
Yeah.
Like, it's the blue skies, it's this car. Like, yeah, there's graffiti, but like, had nobody seen New York in 1993?
The graffiti is literally just the word peace and a peace sign.
Yeah.
Exclusively positive graffiti. There's no gang graffiti.
Yeah. And there's multiple shots.
Oh
with
man,
big flashy
we're
designs.
fighting so many of these boring ass enemies over and over. I do like that the big guy's got to suck a little wind when he gets back up. He does not have the car. Like, yeah. Oh man. Danielle and I rewatched the first two Rocky movies, and I'm sure this is not an original observation by any means, but just a ludicrous amount of accepting getting punched in the face in those boxing matches. Like, Rocky should have lost the first Apollo Creed match by referee stoppage, technical knockout in like one of the early rounds, simply because you're not defending your face.
I suppose I can continue if I want.
That was not Double Dragon. What was it? Pit Fighter, Cedric?
Could have been Pit. Oh, we got a boss. I like his jacket. It's got a flame on the back. He's a hockey fan.
It's got a flame that could be a poorly drawn maple leaf.
He's a hockey fan.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what team does he represent?
Yeah, this is very vague branding. Are you a Calgary guy? Are you a Toronto guy? Music's not as good. Everything's like...
No. Yeah, I agree.
Texaco Leatherman. That's kind of weird graffiti.
Texaco Leatherman.
It is, but it's like... And I understand, like... I knew, even when I was a kid, actual boxing matches are more methodical than this.
Yes.
And so, like going in, I was fully prepared. I think it's because we watch so much professional wrestling, Greg and I, that, and Danielle, for that matter, that we're, like, even in wrestling, when, you know, you're watching people do far more than you could ever take in a single fight.
Yeah.
You rarely, like, you would not see just one wrestler just socking the other dude in the face over and over and over and over, while the, like, a woman with electricity powers.
Ooh.
I'm intrigued, Cedric. I mean, maybe we'll get there in phase 2 when that begins. But yeah, just like Rocky's not even trying to block these punches. Like, why does it? Why? I know it's a fairy tale, but like, why can't the fairy tale involve him occasionally? Like,
Well, Carl, I have not recently watched this film, but aren't people shouting at the sides at Rocky, like, get your hands up? Like, people are recognizing that this is not a good thing for Rocky to be doing.
No, it's true. And, like, the film's, like, literally the 5th film, which I think is non-canon now. In the 5th film, he has to retire from boxing because Drago, like... Or probably because cumulatively, but I think it's Drago.
Is the 5th film the first modern film, or is that the last of the classic films?
It's the last of the class. It's not a classic.
No, obviously, but you know what
not.
I mean. It's not the one that introduces his son, nor the subsequent ones that...
No. He trains a young boxer named Tommy Gunn.
Yes, I remember this. Yes,
and it's not a work name.
Nope.
Just he meets a young kid whose name is Tommy Gunn. Really stupid shit. And this is like in a series, like, you know, we can have heightened names. Clubber Lang. I mean, Clubber is probably like a nickname. Like, he's probably like John Clubber Lang or something. But that is less absurd in a stupid way than Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn would work for an enemy and punch it.
Sure, yeah. One whose ultimate move is just pulling out a gun and shooting Little Mac.
Alright, so our first Goon tier entry, Double Dragon 3, the Rosetta Stone.
But Double Dragon 3, the Secret Stones or the
Sacred Stones?
The Sacred Stones gets mid tier.
So on the whole, the 50% boss tier for the first 6 Double Dragon games, which is respectable.
Which is good, yeah.
Especially when you consider, like, Rosetta Stone is practically non-canon. East Technology Corps developed that one because, for whatever reason, Techno's main team was like, no, we got this Comba Tribes idea, and we're gonna see it through. Okay, so now how far can we go with the next upcoming games?
Well,
Downtown Special... Wait, hold on a second. What's going on inside this list?
What's the issue?
Where's River City Ransom? Did I just not put it on at all?
Why would you do that, James?
That would be a strange mistake.
River City Ransom's in a very important game.
Well, hold on. Let's take it off the screen while I go into the guts of it.
I mean, period drama boss tier, but yeah, we should discuss River City Ransom here.
It is on the list in the original. So, what could possibly be happening?
Guys, if you don't watch us on Friday nights, what you're seeing here is a great preview of the sort of stuff that often happens on that show, which is James messing with a broken spreadsheet.
Oddly enough, there's just a skip, even though it was absolutely just a drag fill.
Yep.
But the cell references just went B9, B11. Yeah. Guided by Voices knows what it's all about.
Nice.
Just messing with spreadsheets.
Thank you, Guided by Voices.
I use a lot of spreadsheets at the weekend shows, but they're mostly not on screen and they're not complicated. They're just notes.
The secret spreadsheets, like the graph paper that he also uses. So, going on to River City Ransom.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're a weekday evening Dream Streetian.
So River City Ransom introduces what I think would become the sort of standard Kunio-kun gameplay.
Yeah.
Which is much more cartoony in terms of artwork. Chat is blowing up.
Those are very helpful, Cedric.
So
never would have got through that desert, King's Quest V.
Much more cartoony in terms of artwork.
Yep.
But also, like, really introducing, like, the RPG elements.
Yes.
That have become sort of core to Kunio-kun. The leveling up and the different stats that Kunio-kun and his allies have, because we also are introducing... this is where we introduce the second player in Kunio-kun as well, isn't it? Yes. So, I mean... Again, it'd be nice to look at it, and Downtown Special Kunio's period drama is almost the same in the game. I would say there's a lot more depth, except it's ported, of course, as the name suggests, to the Warring States period of Japanese history, in the form of a odd school play that they are putting on.
Yeah,
like that's the story.
The framing device is very confusing, to be honest. But it's an excellent game.
It's an excellent game.
And it adds some... It makes it really frustrating that later on down this list, not tonight, we're going to have to put a Kunio-kun game in the Goon tier, even though all that game had to do was to look all the way back to Nekketsu Kunio-kun and then look at Downtown Special Period Drama and then say, okay, the fighting... from the first game, and the progression mechanics of the later game.
Yeah,
that's all that was necessary. And instead, they made the fighting okay, but not as good as any of the previous Kunio-kun games.
And the progression,
so bad that we didn't finish that game.
Don't even think it halfway.
I think this part is pretty easy, Greg.
Both these games are boss tier.
Boss tier, absolutely. Although, whoops.
There you go.
So, there is, River City Ransom. Why is there an asterisk next to it?
a question I would ask you, the creator of the chat.
Yes, I was thinking to myself, why did I do that? I don't know. I'll find out later.
There is not as large of a difference at all between downtown Nekketsu City, Nekketsu Story, and River City Ransom as there is between
just a few, just like mostly just the clothing of the main characters, or all the characters not being Japanese outfits, and then just some like cultural swapping.
Yeah.
But it's not a distinct game. So was that what I put the asterisk there? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It makes no sense. I'll figure it out later and either remove it or explain it. Nekketsu Fighting Legend, I don't think we can... Here's the thing. I don't know if it counts as a beat 'em up.
Yeah. I think
we need to revisit it next time.
Okay.
And debate. But let's see if we can go a little bit further with any of this.
Well, we're getting into some of the lesser known games. Not Final Fight, but Dynasty Wars, The King of Dragons, and Captain Commando. Sort of known entities. They made a notable list, but they are not...
But they only made the notable list because we hadn't yet conceived of Phase 1 in that way.
But also they're early entries in the genre.
And
there's a big import to that.
They're in the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, which I got to have Final Fight so we could do Final Fight, which was the notable.
Yes.
But then so the rest are notable adjacent.
I would argue Captain Commando is a known entity. People remember Captain Commando.
Yeah.
Dynasty was very notable for just not being...
Very weird game.
Yeah, despite being basically a... If I said take the Dynasty War games, the ones you're all thinking of, if you know what Dynasty
Warriors.
was, take Dynasty Warriors, make it a 1989 arcade game. That's Dynasty Wars. Except they have nothing to do with each other. No connection.
Just a different Three Kingdoms combat game where you fight massive swarms of enemies doing big hits to knock them all down.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Very fun though.
Uncanny. It was a very fun game.
I don't know if it belongs in boss tier.
I don't think it does.
I would not put it in Goon. I'd put it in mid.
Yeah.
But a fun game, and notable for being an early entry in the genre, and for just being an odd little duck of a game.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, it's a notable game.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
He did indeed.
Oh, good for him. They should have put Baby. Captain Commando's 4 characters are Captain Commando, Ninja Commando.
Who I think is like a mummy ninja?
No, he's just a ninja. Because there's Mummy is a
second guy.
So, dork-ass virtual reality looking guy.
Yeah.
Like, guy who looks like he wears those 3D glasses just all the time, the red and blue ones.
Yeah.
In fact, he might. And then a mummy, a ninja, and a baby, and a mech. Like, game's got a ton of ambition to have personality.
Yes.
But it really has the personality of someone who is constantly, who constantly says out loud how crazy they are.
I will also say that those characters are asymmetrical is not the right word, but I mean in this case it is the right word because they are not different but equal. I would argue that there is specifically good characters and bad characters in that game. I remember the mummy being particularly difficult to accomplish things with.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Does that put it?
But hold on.
Does that knock it from mid tier down to goon tier?
Captain Commando?
Yeah.
No, I think Captain Commando makes it to mid tier.
You think it makes it to mid?
I think so.
Alright.
What about the King of Dragons?
The King of Dragons I don't remember very well, which is already a knock against it.
We can fire it up next. So it's the fantasy themed beat 'em up where the characters' names are like just their character classes, and there's a primitive leveling up experience system.
I like the fantasy. I like the fantasy ones we played, like Knights of the Round was there. I remember Knights of the Round, and I remember enjoying it a great deal. I also remember the of course Golden Axe series that we'll get to a little bit later in the list. The King of Dragons doesn't really stand out in my mind, which to me, these are games we played a long time ago, but I have memories of Captain Commando. I have memories of Dynasty Wars. King of Dragons just fades, which I think puts in Goon tier. I
don't think any of these games are Goon tier.
No, you wouldn't say.
I do believe that I can see King of the Dragons coming pretty low in the rankings on mid tier, but I don't think it's bad. I think that it meets
That's
the
fair.
criterion
You know what?
of
That's
if you
fair.
had like an hour to kill with your buddy, could you fire this up and not like come away disappointed or angry? Yes.
Yeah, then I agree with you.
Okay.
I would say put it in mid, but I think when it comes to the rankings, it's going to end up pretty low in mid.
I think that's quite possibly true. So, King of Dragons, Captain Commando, and I think Knights of the Round, really.
Yeah, I would argue on the other end of it. I think Knights of the Round is going to rank pretty highly.
I think that they're
mid-tier,
like mechanically only Dynasty Wars out of these Capcom CP arcade system games that we played is distinct.
Knights of the Round feels like a game that if we were talking on this about Knights of the Round 2 and Knights of the Round 3, Knights of the Round 2 or the NES port of Knights of the Round 2 might have made the boss tier.
Maybe.
You know, there's a lot there that's good.
Ultimately, like all the CP arcade system games have a lot of shared DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Dynasty Wars being the most distinctive of them, ultimately, I think. And I don't think any of them get anywhere as close to being bad.
No.
But I also, I don't know. Like, I think the only potential boss tier one here, and we gotta make up our mind, I guess, is Final Fight.
Final Fight is incredibly important to the genre.
But I don't know if that makes it like actually that great.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that it's as good as its own chibi NES spin-off.
Yes.
I don't think it's as good as Streets of Rage, which is like basically a slavish imitation of it in a sense.
Yeah.
Just better. Okay.
Final Fight is interesting. It's interesting to talk about because it exists in a very interesting space.
Yeah,
in
well,
video game history.
And it's part of the Street Fighter universe, so its characters just sometimes are in Street Fighter.
And also the other game there, not Street Fighter, but
Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Yes. So
yes, it also exists in the Saturday Night Slam Masters universe.
Yes.
Which I think really comes back around to saying that game also exists in the Street Fighter universe.
So
I think it's even though Final Fight came first.
It's all happening inside the snow globe on St. Elsewhere. So Final Fight, I would say mid tier.
Okay.
I don't think we should do the Turtles right now. I think we need to look at the Turtles again, especially because is there not still a Turtles game that we have not technically?
If we're ever gonna bring wrestling games back out of my voices, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And get sued by Capcom.
Woo!
Actually, no. They probably won't sue us, which is a shame. Because that would be... We'd get covered on...
Great.
They would cover us on Kotaku. It would be great promotion.
Oh my god. Get us on Kotaku.
Kotaku hates it when a cease and desist is sent to anybody for any reason.
Yes.
Okay, so... Oh, one more... Warriors of Fate. One more CP system beat 'em up.
This is the other Three Kingdoms one, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yes.
Mid.
God.
I just don't think it even needs to be discussed with the CP system games.
No.
They're all the same game with different skins.
And this one I think is less distinct than Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Battletoads real quick and then call it okay.
That part's easy. Battletoads,
easy as shit.
A beloved classic, is mid because that first 2.5 levels really is fucking great.
It is.
And the aesthetics are great, and the music is great.
But then,
and literally everything after that sucks. And
the question is it even a beat 'em up?
Well, I think it is in the sense of like the majority of time that has been spent in
playing Battletoads
in the universe playing Battletoads has been a beat 'em up because
that's true.
Most people's experience of the game.
But theoretically, if you were able to play the whole game,
then you get into a weird place where it's like there are probably too many gimmick stages for it to actually.
It's a genre jumper. It really is.
And most of those genres are not
terrible.
Poorly conceived.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't even know if it's especially, but the level that you're holding on to like a thing, a wheel that goes along the floor, but then also on the walls and then also on the ceiling. And the only controls are you have to press the direction you're moving in to stay ahead of the thing chasing you. And the only challenge is split-second switching directions when you get to a corner. And it's obscenely hard.
I would
it sucks.
argue. I would argue that as a game, it is Goon tier.
Yes.
I would argue it's Goon tier. I would say that the fighting game portion, which you are correct, that is the portion that the majority of people has played. And I think honestly, the reason this is classified as a beat 'em up is that I think most of the people who have played, and even most of the people who have reviewed it, have not played the entire game.
No. And it jumps a whole lot of genres poorly.
How would you? I would say, yeah, so for that reason, and the fact that it's... The bits of it that are not a beat 'em up are bad. They are not... It is not like the beat 'em up is really good and the other bits are just okay. It's like the beat 'em up is good, the rest of it is terrible, and you just end up playing those bits unendingly.
Some of the, like, okay, the rat race level sucks.
Yeah.
But it's well conceived. Like, that could be fun if it was well designed.
Yeah.
The hold on to the thing and there's no amount of
good,
tightness of design that could make that a fun concept for a game.
And there are games. I'm thinking of games that come much later in history, where there are portions of it that are very much they are genre jumping games, where there are portions of the games where you switch to an entirely different play style and you are expected to finish those portions before you can advance. But there's got to be some sort of cycle. You have to return to beat 'em up at some point. You have to.
Battletoads does. Battletoads and Battle Maniacs does not.
No.
But okay, so my vote. You said this will take no time, and we've been talking about it for 5 minutes. My vote would be Battletoads is mid tier because holy shit, that first stage is really good, and it has so many ideas that when we saw them in the game that I think we will agree is in the boss tier, Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Agreed.
When we saw them done well in a great game, oh wow, yeah, it is a great idea to have cartoony animations for the attacks that vary based on enemies. The first boss of the original Battletoads that is a battle mech or a robot mech that is attacking you and you fight it from its camera view.
Yes.
That is oh my god.
It's good.
So I think that it gets to mid tier on the basis of how good it tricked you into thinking it was.
I would argue it's still Goon's tier. I would argue that looking at it as a whole, it is just not redeemable. But if you want to put it in mid, that's fine. I have a prediction I'm going to make right now. It is the absolute bottom of mid.
It's certainly low mid.
I gotta say, I would put it below Captain Commando. I would put it below the King of Dragons, which I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think that honestly, it might define the lower bound of mid.
Yeah.
Okay. I think.
And then the other two are simple.
Double Dragon and Battletoads. Boss tier. Oops, wrong.
Nope. There you go.
There we go.
But
that's an incredible game.
It is.
That game is so great. It's mostly a beat 'em up. It is a beat 'em up. It has.
It's largely forgotten in the history of both series.
Yeah.
It's not really brought up when discussing Double Dragon ever, and it's rarely brought up when discussing Battletoads.
And the first thing that should come up when anyone mentions Battletoads is they should very quickly be like, you are misremembering this based on nostalgia, and then also many years of misguided internet hype that was based on that nostalgia.
And possibly a sunk cost fallacy.
So that's the very first thing that you got to say about Battletoads.
I played a lot of Battletoads. That must mean I liked it.
It sucks. It's not good. You played a lot of Battletoads.
And
you might have liked it, but that's because you kept getting game over as soon as the game gets shitty in the halfway through the third level.
Yeah, and you had owned 3 games and had an infinite amount of time because you were 7.
And and it is very cool that you fight the first boss from its camera.
Yeah.
But then the second thing that should be said is, however, the formula was actually perfected in the spin-off Battletoads and Double Dragon: The Ultimate Team, which is a tremendous game and
does the genre jumping a lot better than the original game.
It still jumps genres. It takes the one well-executed genre jump from Battletoads, which is still beat 'em up adjacent. The descent levels, the rappelling down into the cave, that has a lot of beat 'em up mechanics in it, and is a cool twist on beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
That if they kept doing that, would have made for a great game overall. They didn't do that and sucked from there on out. Battletoads and Double Dragon keeps the rappelling down, but it's not rappelling stages. It's rappelling sequences in stages where you actually bring your rappel out and advance and then get back on the ground. Very cool. Then randomly, it's like
the spaceship.
It has the speeder bikes, but they're better executed.
Oh, much better. Yes.
And then at one point, it's just like, okay, now it's a space shooter with 2 separate control schemes in a single level.
Yeah.
And it's good.
But it's well executed.
It's like Treasure made the game. Like it got credited to Rare, but no, it was actually Treasure made this particular Rareware game. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then down to the old Goon tier.
Down to the old Goon tier for a game that I would argue is not satisfying in any degree.
No. Battletoads and Battle Maniacs sucks.
Yeah.
The first stage is a beat 'em up.
Yeah, it is.
Aping exactly the structure of, or like the aesthetic of Battletoads 1's first stage is a beat 'em up. But it's not as fun.
It almost feels like a port at a certain point.
The beat 'em up is not as good.
Nope.
Like the action is not as good. You have less room to move around, even both because the sprites are bigger and the ground is smaller.
Yeah.
There are numerous very frustrating the ground collapses, one-hit kill, drop-offs, drops off the cliff. And then the boss is just a big dude.
Yep.
Which is way less cool.
And then you begin descending into the madness of them returning to the worst parts of the game.
First you return to the thing that makes you think maybe this game can jump genres.
Oh, which is a
descent stage.
Yeah.
But it's less good than the descent level in the original game.
Yeah.
And then the speeder bike level is so much worse.
So much.
So bad.
Yes.
Including it as a part of how to beat it is a buried mechanic that only at the times that it's supposed to happen, you can fall into what should be your death and then jump back from it.
Yeah.
But that only happens at the parts where you're supposed to do it, and there's nothing telling you that.
And, I mean, we discussed this a little bit at the time, but it's also famously broken, where the controls on the original release were not responsive in the way that they should have been.
Oh,
meaning you have to do like a delayed reaction.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
And then also, like, we only got through that speeder bike thing by slowing down the emulation, because the last leg of it is extremely rapidly just top row, obstacle, bottom row, obstacle, top row, bottom row, and you just have to thread it rapidly like a sine wave with perfect timing, and it goes on. Like, we slowed it down, so it went on for like over a minute. But that would mean it's like 20 seconds of having to precision go up, down, up, down, up, down. Like, not fun.
If you can beat that level, you can beat that level with your eyes closed. Because it is not at all about reacting to what's on screen. It's about memorizing what's going to happen.
And it's not fun.
Nope.
And it wouldn't be fun if you succeed. Like, when we slowed it down and succeeded, I didn't have fun.
Nope.
And then, beyond that, you discover that the whole rest of the game just recreates the bad gimmick stages from the original without ever returning to a beat 'em up, which at least the original did a couple of times before it was over. But it has fewer stages, and none of them are executed any better than the original.
No.
Garbage. Just a shitty, easily the worst game we've played.
Terrible game.
It's not even close. Okay.
Let's
wrap
it up. We can return to this, James. We've got time.
Yeah, okay. Hold on. I think we can knock out the Golden Axe series. Greg, I propose mid, boss, goon.
You're saying mid for Golden Axe,
mid for Golden Axe 2,
boss
for the excellent arcade spin-off sequel, and then goon for Golden Axe 3.
I'd agree with that, except for Golden Axe 3, which I would boost to mid in the same way that we said that the original Battletoads is mid. In which I don't think that is a terrible game. I just don't think it is a particularly good game.
Okay, so hold on. Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, it's number 25. I'm sold on your point here. So hold on. 26, 27, and 29 added to mid tier. I will give it some thought, and maybe we actually just bump Battletoads and Golden Axe 3 to goon tier.
Which is fair.
Maybe
I'd be fine with that compromise.
Maybe I broke the system.
Yeah, I'd
but
be fine with that
we'll figure that out for sure next time. And then it was what, 27?
Yeah,
No.
28. 1 point for Greg.
Okay. So, how'd we do? Of our 41 games, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 8.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We're more than halfway there.
Yeah. And we're going to play more next week to remind ourselves what they're about, especially the Ninja Turtles game.
I bet the next time we get done quickly enough to take another run at Streets of Rage 2. But we'll see. Because Streets of Rage 2 might also just be something that, maybe not even just Streets of Rage 2, but a handful of the real standout games here that we have played that would be rewarding to try to beat.
Yeah.
Might be things that we pop in throughout the course of Phase 2 when, like, okay, we've done 3 games that did not pass the 5 quarters test or the whatever quarters test we settled on. We got through them all in an hour. This is really wearying on the soul. Let's play a game we know is fun.
Let's play a game we like, yeah.
Okay, so one more interstitial episode next week. We'll get the rest of the rankings done, and then we'll kick off Phase 2 a fortnight hence.
All right.
Okay, meanwhile, elsewhere at 58 Dream Street, anytime I can find an opportunity, which might occasionally happen before the semester ramps up, I'm going to be trying to finish Adventures of Lolo 3 because I'm so close after those 2 sessions over the holiday break. So if I can beat that, finally, some 30-odd years after I started playing it, that'll be rewarding. So I would like to try to do that. But that's not scheduled. But it could happen at any time, so stay tuned. Keep your notifications on. On Friday, Friday Night Frosthaven kicks off the new year with 2 new characters. Count them.
Yes.
Me and Rich, both starting new characters. Not Greg, never Greg.
Never Greg.
We're probably not going to bring Michaela in yet because in the interest of retiring Greg's character, we're forced to choose a scenario that sounds outlandishly gimmicked. And that's not a good way to be introduced. We got to introduce Michaela on a kill all enemies scenario or a, like, kill all enemies and, like,
reach a point or
and
something.
smash this, like, something simple.
Yeah.
Something where the main thing you got to think about is just, how do I get this attack to hit somebody?
Mm-hmm. And how do I not get hit in turn?
Yeah. And then, on the weekend, on Saturday, going back to King's Quest 6. Air today, gone tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Prince Alexander's second starring run. King Graham is officially retired as an adventurer now. In this one, Alexander tries to find a lady and make her love him. He's already met her at the end of King's Quest V. She's from the Green Isles. He goes there. Her parents died, and the Grand Vizier has imprisoned her until she agrees to marry him. Do not, like, if you live in a fairy tale inspired universe, we can just let the office of the Grand Vizier, be gradually outmoded and forgotten. Mm-hmm. Just let it die on the vine. Just don't appoint somebody. It's not going to work. Like, you can't. But also, the Grand Vizier in King's Quest VI is named Abdul Al-Hazred.
Okay.
Which you might recognize as the name of the fictional author of the Necronomicon from H.P. Lovecraft's stories.
Oh, not a good start for him then.
No. Yeah, you know what? Cedric, there's an HR strategy here that involves posting the Grand Vizier position constantly. And then when you've sorted, you'll get there, Stupinski. It's early in the year for you to fulfill your learn how to type resolution. Just yet. But you collect the resumes. And then you do the sorting of the A, like, these people get an interview. The B, like, if we got to round it out. And the C, of put them in the wastebasket. This person can't be the Grand Vizier. And then you call all the A's in for an interview and have them executed.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they were going to get up to something pro-social just because they didn't get the job, the position of authority they wanted. That is going to actually make the kind of person who wants to be Grand Vizier even worse. But also, do not hire the guy if he's the author of the Necronomicon. Do not include any stipulations in your will that somehow give this guy power over your daughter if you both die. Your nubile younger daughter. This is... I'm sure that the king and queen of the Green Isles were lovely people.
Yeah, they made some mistakes, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you the best rule of being a nice person.
No. But, so, yeah. But anyway, I'm in the Green Isles. I believe the next thing I need to do is go back through all the screens available to me and click on everything, because I'm pretty sure there's just a thing you can pick up without solving a puzzle that I need to get to. There's a pawn shop, and he's got 4 items. And I think I'm starting to either remember or just piece it together, because there's a separate high value pawn gimmick where you give him your insignia ring to get the magic map. And then when you find a pearl, you can get the insignia ring back. And then for the rest of the game, you can give him the insignia ring and get the pearl, or vice versa. And I think that might be how it works with the 4 pawnable items, but he won't exchange them for a high value. You need a low value thing. Okay. So I need something only worth a few copper to get the trade cycle started, because I need at least one of his items, I think, to get anywhere further in the game.
All right.
On Sunday, I'll be back in that Labyrinth of Worlds, Ultima Underworld 2. I'm currently in a world that is just a tomb. It's just a pyramid. The pyramid of the King Prekor Loth. So once again, no, we will not be going outside in this brand new world. And yes, it is a confined worked stone space.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
But still, it's a new flavor of world. It's a tomb. It's cool. I'm having fun. And there's only going to be one more world to go to, and then I got to do like all the endgame stuff. But I'm hoping we're like 4 to 6 sessions away from putting a capper on that game. So it's going pretty well. Before you know it, it's Tuesday, and you can watch us fill out a spreadsheet a little bit more.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll finish filling it out, this first phase of it, and then we'll be ready to kick off phase 2, where games will get added to this spreadsheet at the end of every episode. So that's exciting.
Yes, very.
Finally, this one thing that people have been saying just constantly, that in particular Greg and James beat 'em up is missing. It's like, dude, you can't come up with anything to do with a spreadsheet and beat 'em ups? No, I got it. You just had to let me cook. All right, so here we are, and that's where we're going. Take us home, Greg.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking around all the way to the end. Please follow down below or subscribe if you like. James is offering 30 days of conditional love.
Also, unless you want me to be the winner of the Emoji Wars of 2024, you need to subscribe to get the emojis of the other Dream Streetians.
Yeah, spam me in the chat, Greg and James. I'm going to beat Rich again this year. And remember, until next time, violence is never the answer, except in video games. Bye.
See you later.